Hello, everyone. Welcome to BizChicks TV. This is the place where you can find tips and tools to help you do business better. We're here to help you run a profitable business that's fun to run and to take the hassle out of your hustle. And today we are here with Coach Caren Fern, all the way from Toronto, Canada. I'm Terralina from California Cover Up. So we just want to welcome you and say, hey, get ready because Coach Caren is going to give you some information that will help you run that business in a profitable way that's fun to run. So, Coach, what do you have for us today?
Today we're talking about now I know how to get it because we've just finished wrapping up talking about the dailies. And so now
Mhm.
you know how to get it, how to get what you want to get done, how to know, you know, you know how to get what you want. And so the question still lies, you know what you want? Like you got to know what you want to get what you want, okay guys? So ask the question as many times as possible because you might change. You might start doing, what you want, but you don't like it. It's tiresome. You can't see yourself doing a lot of it, like making candles, right? Like learning to
Mhm.
make candles and you love it. I love candles. I love a bath with candles. And I next year I want to bring out a line of candles. And so I'm testing and figuring out things with candles, right? And if it's
Mhm.
something you find that might be tedious and you don't want to do, is fine. But you might want to try it out first because eventually you can have it done for you. But initially you need to know your scents and all these wonderful things. So know what you want and understand how you're going to do it and how you're going to market it. You know, when you're now starting
Mhm.
off, you think you have to do everything, or you think it has to be this thing that you have to do it a certain way. But from doing it makes you decide which angle is best suited for you and your company. Okay. So that's what you want to think about. And the next question is, are you afraid of the answer?
Oh,
You
whoa,
know,
whoa, whoa.
this is a
Know what you want, and are you afraid of the answer? Oh my gosh. Mm.
mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. I want you to hear that answer, girl. Guys,
Mhm.
if you're on here, get the answer, write it down. Let it come to you. Don't rush it. Take what comes first and wait if more is coming. And if you're afraid of the answer, it's okay, but take when it comes, okay? Because when we're uncomfortable, we get and be so much more. So don't be afraid of uncomfortableness. And usually, not every time, but usually the answer puts you in this uncomfortable state. Okay?
Mm.
Getting a little bit more to it. And number three, what does getting what you want brings with it?
Oh.
What does getting what you want brings with it? Yeah, it brings uncomfortableness. Yes, it makes you feel uneasy, but it also makes you question if you really can handle it. And
Mm.
lots of time you don't feel like you can, but you can. Okay, so we'll get into talking about it a little bit. I'm sipping some orange juice, guys, because I got a bit of a cold and my throat is, acting up. So you see me sipping around. So once
Mm.
you know what you want, let's get to it, right? If you're afraid of the answer, if you're afraid of the answer, there's nothing that you could do about it. And here I'll tell you why. If you try to do about it, anything about it, and not be honestly working in that answer that you get, life finds a way of coming right back at you again. And then it take a left turn, a right turn, pops down, come from behind. You have to. You have to. You have to when you understand. I tell this story before, but not here. But I'll tell you guys a little bit about it. When I was in home economic, baking a cake, that
Mhm.
story. I was telling a client of mine the other day. I said it popped in my head to tell her, and I had to say it. I said I baked the first time I baked a cake. I didn't have an oven, and she's like, "What do you mean?" I said I bake it in my head, and I fully visualized me baking the cake because I had the recipe. I went to school. I was in home economics, and this is what they were teaching. And we were supposed to do a group cake, so I wasn't worried because I thought what I didn't know, the members of the group gonna pick up because they were able to. We were in poor state, so we didn't own an oven. We owned a one burner stove.
Uh-huh.
Terry, I remember sitting down and just imagine the oven on and going through the creaming of the butter, the adding of the eggs, the flour, the essence, the baking powder, a pinch of salt. The whole recipe was there still in my head, and the cake came out so fluffy. And I get to class the day, and it was exams. We were writing the exam to bake this cake, and our teacher switched it up on us, and she says, "We're not baking in a group anymore. We're baking individual cakes." I say I'm dead because the assignment was to go home and practice, and I didn't have an oven, and I wasn't willing to literally tell her I have no oven because I was young and embarrassed of my circumstances, so I wasn't going to admit that I didn't have.
Mm-hmm. I understand. Mm-hmm.
And so the stations were set up. It's like a commercial kitchen, if you will. Everything is there. And I thought to myself that the butter, the eggs, everything is there. And I went to town as though I was sitting on the stairs making my cake. I did whatever I was visualizing inside. I put it to the test. I was the first one finished mixing my cake. I warmed my oven at 350. I put in my cake when it beeped. I washed all my dishes. I cleaned down my station. My cake came out. I wait for a few minutes for it to settle in the pan before I throw it out for instructions. And then she came around to slice our cake. The cake came out. Yes, chef kiss. I could breathe.
Yes, we all can breathe now that we've heard the outcome. Okay.
I could breathe. And my teacher said to me, she says, "Caren, you really practice very hard."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "I did." She says, "So tell me about it. How many takes did it take you to get there? Because this is one of the most perfect cakes a student has ever baked me."
Oh, praise God. Mm-hmm.
Well, God, praising up and down inside. I said to her diligently every day. And she go around shaking people cake and whatever. So at the end of the day, she called me into her office and she said, "You did a really good job. I hope you keep up the good work. I like to see when I give kids the homework that they go home and practice." And because it was just her and I broke down and I said, "We don't have an oven. We got a one burner stove. So please don't give me any more baking things to do at home because I
Any more take-home projects?
And so I'm saying that because when I say you're afraid of the answer, the answer, you don't have to be afraid of it, but most of us are. But if we would take what we get, what God has given us, what's inside of us, we can see that even when we can't physically do it, we can mentally do it. Whatever that thing is. If you wanted to start a t-shirt business, but you know that you do not have, I'm going to use as an example, money to buy the first t-shirt. You can't buy the t-shirt. You can't pay for the sticker. You can't print anything on the t-shirt. Here's what I'm going to make you do. If that's you and that's what you want to do, I want to take an old t-shirt and I want you to get another old piece of fabric or anything that you got and whatever design you could come up with. If you can get it printed out to the library somewhere and you can cut it out and put it in front of the t-shirt, you're using a representative of part of the course I teach of the visibility of impossibilities. I think that's the name I have on it. And you will keep that picture of that t-shirt, inspiring you for your dream to come, inspiring you to go where you want to go because now you understand you can do it. All the steps, here's what it does. It's not necessarily because you cut out the stuff and put on a t-shirt. It's when you get the t-shirt and the things you're doing while you're doing them, you're inspiring you to where you want to go. That's what you're really doing. You're taking the answer that you're afraid of and you're turning it around. You turning it around and you're turning it into what you want. You're bending things that seem. That's why nothing is impossible. All the impossible you're turning into possibilities. And not only a t-shirt, it could be anything that you want to do that right now you got no money to do. I want you to not let that stop you. I want you to take the money idea that is bothering you and I want you to put it aside. If I had money, I would have doom, Write it down. Put it aside. How
Mm.
could I do it without any money? And then I want you to start doing that. It feels like magic because God is going to show up and show you how to get that. This is why when people want something and the budget doesn't allow it, I don't want it to take it off the budget. I want it to sit there with the money it costs because we working towards getting that. When you have no money, it feels like it takes away all your ability to be great and do the things you want to do. It is not true. It's the worst lie as ever lived. It's such a bad lie. It's such a depressing lie.
Mm.
It's so rigid on you. And if you've experienced it over and over, you feel like you can't get up out of it. But you could. Me baking the cake without baking the cake was me getting up out of the lie. And to be honest, later on I realized I had enough money to buy the oven myself. Like I could buy an oven and put it on the one burner stove. But that would have changed my trajectory on why I was making money in the first place. That's another topic. I'll talk about that another time. But truly, if your money was to buy a car, and that car was just to drive you to work and it was going to really get you there, but you can take the bus, take the bus. Because if you bought the cheaper car to get you there, you'll spend more money repairing the car to go to work. So the same thing, whatever it is you're going to, whatever it is you're doing, me telling you to get past it is a journey in itself that is going to stretch you like nothing else. And you'll be telling somebody the story about how you stretch yourself. And you'll be helping somebody to stretch their selves. So don't be afraid of the answer. But mostly we are. So that's why I'm explaining it so thoroughly.
Wow. Wow. Just the whole idea of what if I get an answer that I wasn't looking for or expecting?
And when I say what it brings up for you, because it brings up the old and not the good old. When these things are happening, it brings up all sorts of feeling inside of you. When somebody tell you you're not great, you can't do anything, you're dumb, you're stupid, you can't get there. And people say it. People say, well, nobody said that to me. I had a client once, and when we didn't have to go way, way back, but we had to go back a little bit because of just where she was and what she was doing with money. And she made a lot of money, but she couldn't keep any of the money. She would just go. She get paid. She'd spend before she get paid. So she's borrowing and paying back. And we really had to look at what was happening. And it wasn't spoken directly to her about her self-worth, but just hints that was dropped in the way she was treated. She took that on herself. And so anytime she tried to be better, she fell back into that hole. She had a good job. She had a house at some point. She lost it. She was living in somebody's basement because she just couldn't keep money. And that's why she seeked me out because she just couldn't keep any money. And it's because of all those things that was on her shoulders. And part of her fear was, what it was bringing up is that if she did climb and get to where she wanted, all she wanted to make was $5,000 a month extra than her pay. If she got there, then she wasn't smart enough to keep it, invest it, or do anything with it. She'd be right back where she was. And so you have to find out what it's bringing up when you want to get what you want. And then you have to deal with it. You can't get away from it. You got to deal with it. And you might have to go talk to somebody. Maybe you do need a therapist. I don't know. But you might need other things. Maybe you need a coach. Maybe you need a therapist. Maybe you need both. Or maybe you need to get pen and paper and just sit with yourself and get some things out on the open first before you even talk to those people. Whatever you need to do it. Because I promise you, as much as we like to tell people, well, I don't, but most people like to tell people, if you learn to market, you'll sell well. And if you feel good, you'll do this. There's some deep things inside of people that they really need to deal with to get to this other place. They really need to go look at themselves to get to this place. Some people is definitely afraid of making a lot of money because of how they would be perceived. Nothing's wrong with it, but you don't know deep inside how they feel because it's hard to say. That's why people make money still broke. That's why people make money and still be broke, because every single penny has to showcase to them this sort of life that they really don't even like sometimes. So it gets spent out. So I have a saying, they don't like to receive money. They don't know how, they don't know how to receive money. They know how to keep the money they receive. It has to go. It's important for it not to go. So you need to find out what is bringing up, because when you understand these things, you sell better. You'll market differently. Desperation is not a thing of you anymore. You could not be desperate even if you have no money, because you understand who you are. And that's why I like to tell people, when you are doing this specific thing, when you are, I call it the 7 phases of entrepreneurial growth. When you're starting out, there's the discovery phase, when you're learning your craft. And then there's the growth within that discovery space. And then there's awareness phase, where you recognize the value beyond time. And then there's a growth in that. And then as you move along, you get the courage phase, where you're overcoming your fear. And then there's some growth in that. And then there's the resiliency phase, because once you get a courage, you got to get resilience built up, because the courage just stayed temporarily and you have to keep rebuilding that. And then there's growth in that. And then there's the persistent phase. And then there's growth in that as well. And then you keep going. Then there's a transformation phase, because now you've climbed over and you're gaining clarity and insight. And then there's a growth in that. And last but not least, there's the achievement phase, where you're ready to thrive and really be great in what you do.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Growth is so essential, isn't it? Sometimes we don't even realize what's going on because it's so painful. But it's just growing pains.
That's exactly what it is. If you ever had a teenager in your life, when they're growing, they're in pain. When I first experienced it with my son, and I didn't know about growing pains. And he keeps saying he's in pain. So I took him to the doctor, and then we realized it was growing pain. And then over time, as I get the other kids, I said, oh, you guys are going through growing pains. And if you're in business, that's what you're going through. And by the way, guys, if you're in a job, you also go through growing pains. And so when you're in a job and you get comfortable and your money's right and it's coming to you regularly, you start feeling restless and you don't know what to do with yourself. It's growing pains. Maybe it's time for you to grow. God is giving you a nudge. He's saying, okay, girl, okay, guy, you're here now. You're fine. Now, where else are we going? Because we've got a lot of people to serve. It's never about you just going to work and coming back home. You got people to serve. You got people to reach. People need to hear you and talk to you and reach out to you. And I want you not here anymore. It's time to go. I used to tell people I didn't have a lot of jobs, but when I had the few, when it was time to go, it was time to go. I used to get this feeling like God take his hands and rest on my leg and just squeeze it. And I would know it's time to go. And I wouldn't want to go. Just so you're clear, guys, I don't want to go, because the friends I had, the people at work, I wasn't those people who go to work and say, I don't have friends. I had friends at work. And I love those people. And they want to go anywhere. Remember this one job, I was like, oh my God, no, God, not now. No. This was a part-time gig. And we used to have so much fun. I used to be a waitress. And it was just fun. And then my boss called me and he says, we are closing the business down. I'm like, oh, this is why I was getting the squeeze. It was time for me to go. You go, yeah, Caren. We got another location. I would hire you, but it's way too far. I didn't know that initially. I didn't go with the rest of the people, but I knew it was time. It was over. And I was avoiding the thing that I had to do. And so that's why I wanted to stay there. Like I knew, Terry, that it was time for me to do the other thing that I knew I needed to do, but I did not want to do it because it was too hard.
I was going to say, because now we're on another learning curve. It's just like, again, it's almost like starting over.
Yeah. I was like, do I have to? And I could feel it in my beings that I have to, right? But I've been saying it a while. I was ready, right? And guys was to go to college, right? And I had all these excuses. I was like, well, why don't I just be a hairdresser or just something easier? But everything that I applied to, I still needed this or that to get in. So it didn't make no difference, right? I was like, so what are you shying away from? And I applied. I got the answer to come write an exam. I wrote the exam. I got in. It wasn't even a hard exam, but I was fighting myself to not go do it.
Wow.
Because I didn't want to do this new thing. And so, guys, once you finish planning everything, there is things you have to still go in and answer. You're going to feel afraid. If you don't like marketing, you're going to have to learn how to market. And not the kind of marketing where you get a lead magnet, you do this, you set up a funnel and you go. No, you have to understand. This is the kind of marketing I did when I had a cleaning company when I started it. And it was tedious. It was hard, but it was good learning curve where I had to sit with myself and ask myself, how many avenues do I want? How many channels do I want to put out there to look after, to send me leads? Like that was the first question. And then how many people I want to hire to train to do this job? And the answers came quickly, but I didn't like the work that came behind them, you know. So what did it bring up for me? It bring up a lot of things for me that I didn't realize that was sitting around inside of me. And I just went out there and do it. I came up with all these excuses. What if I put out an ad and it cost me? I think the ad used to cost me at the time, Yellow Pages was 100 and something. The Jewish newspaper used to be about 45. I had another paper running. The local paper was another 2 something. So I had like 4 outlets. And plus I was paying a girl to go distribute flyers, Terry. And so I had all these channels. And I said, but you don't know what you're doing. So once I had them, I took out my spreadsheet and now I was tracking. When anybody called, where you're calling from, where you saw our ad, and, you know, other questions I had for them. And I'll take all the information down and stuff. The next thing I did was run the ad in our local paper for people. And I would just have people come in, interview them, and knew right away if they really want to clean or they're just trying to come and hustle a dollar. The ones who just come in to hustle a dollar, forget it. The people who come in to clean, I put them on a schedule and I have them go through the training. I had boring training because the boring training, I would weed out people who couldn't handle it. Sit down tediously, watch at the computer and watch how to clean. I know I'm going to teach them, but this was a way of having me see their behavior, their reaction, and then send them out with me. Or I had a girl at the time that I would send them out with, and they would go in and clean and give her like a synopsis. What would they do first? What would they do? You know, and then when I see how they clean, then now I'll bring them back in and I'll train them. And I had 2 training houses, mine and 2 girlfriends' houses. Like they would get free cleans on me and I'll use their houses as a training.
Wow.
And I would train them. But while that was happening, there was this part of me that I didn't know I owned, and it exists, that I had a problem with money. In not the way how I talk about it. I had a problem with me afraid to spend too much money, not gain it back, and waste money. I had this this behavior in me that I'm wasting money. It's not true, but that's how it felt. And so every time I had to spend the money, I would go cringing. I wouldn't take out the credit card. I would spend 2-3 minutes, sometime a whole hour before I literally run the ad. It sounds so silly saying this now, but me being able to identify why and where this was coming from. And that's why, guys, when I tell you to write things down, I'm not joking. Like I literally sat with myself one day after running all the ads and I asked, Caren, why are you behaving like this? When the credit card statement comes, you'll make enough money to pay it off. What is the issue? And I had to go talk to me about the way I behave around money, the way money makes me feel when it leaves my hand, when I have to do anything on credit. All these things were things that I had bottled up inside of me and didn't know. And I had to work through them.
Don't we all, though? Seriously. Don't we all have our money story? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, we do. And but when you're in business and you got to do certain things, you don't want it to. I don't think everything is gone from me, but you don't want it to paralyze you to the state where you're missing the deadline to run an ad because you need it to be out there, you know, or to gain employees because you don't have it running. And the thing with ads, and even now, people don't realize it, you got to constantly run them. So because I run all the time on Yellow Pages, like for a full year, I was able to get, like, at the time they had that show Restaurant Makeover, they'd hire us. And in the Jewish community where people are restructuring the house, like big jobs, if I wasn't in that space and they see me constantly, they won't hire me. And by this, I'm saying this because those kind of jobs pays thousands of dollars, and I'm whining about the 125 or the 225 in ads.
I feel you. Yes.
That's why I'm talking about it. So, guys,
What does getting what you want bring with it?
all the things I just tell you, and that's
Oh
all.
my God. The money issues, the emotions, the
Mhm.
mm,
Mhm.
mm,
It brings up.
mm. That's what it brings with it. Oh my
Mhm.
goodness. Wow.
Destination, all the things that you think you probably had settled,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
it's up in
mm-hmm.
arms with you again. But you work through them, guys. You work through them. I hope what I bring you help you clarify certain things, see certain things, and
Well, I know one thing. I love the way you bring it to us. You say we need to know how to get it. And you said we need to start with, first of all, and this is just so basic, and so many people do not do this. Know what you want.
mm-hmm.
Have you sat down and figured out what it is you want?
Yeah.
And then when you figure out what you want, does fear pop up? When you get the answer to what you want, oh, that's too big. Oh, you're thinking too much. You don't have the money. That all the things you mentioned, Caren.
Yes.
And then what does getting what you want bring with it? Oh, now I got the money. How do I what do you call it? Distribute my assets
Mm-hmm.
and invest my assets in my business so that it
Mm-hmm.
makes more money.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Wow. And all of that. I love this because, I know that you are all about, you know, bringing profits in daily. And that's all about how we manage our resources.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh my gosh, guys, look, basically, what we need to do here is we need to back up. And if you have not already done so, you need to make an appointment with Coach Karen. And, and because, my goodness, don't we all need to know what it is that's going on in our minds? I'm going to put this up on the screen so you can take a screenshot of it. Um, it's just too much. Oh my goodness. Say that and go back into it. So here it is, guys. Take a screenshot of that. Book
Mhm.
an appointment with Coach Karen. That's
Yeah.
all. What can I say? Booking is complimentary right now. We don't know what it's going to be in 2025, but you need to book that appointment and you need to do it before she gets busy for the holidays. Okay, because her calendar is full. So we recommend that you do this before the end of the year and get started on the right foot for the
Mhm.
upcoming year.
Yes.
That we want to remind everybody that, hey, if you're looking to become a part of BizChicks,
Mhm.
simply text Biz to 33777, and you can also find us over at bizchicks.net. My goodness, Coach Karen, I know to some people it might sound simple, but when you get somewhere and sit down and think about these things, it really does get very deep.
Yes. Yes.
So we want to thank you again for
You're
your
welcome.
expertise, your insight, and your experience. People, I'm telling you, if you can get information from someone who's already experienced the little things that cause you to have bleeps, hey, I highly recommend that you do that. So we trust Coach Karen as a trusted mentor, and we highly recommend her. So with that, Coach Karen, thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Guys, let's get ready for the upcoming year.
Yes. Oh my gosh, Terry, we got a month away, girl.
I know.
Away.
I got my little Grinch shirt on the whole
Yeah.
night. Yep, it's coming. It's coming. So, guys, we just thank you for your time, and we want to encourage you to remember it's okay to make money in your business.
Yes, it is.
Go to the front of your own mind. Have a great day. Bye bye, everyone.